Welcome to Sports Talk with RKJ. I am your host, Steve Risser, with my co-host Justin D'Onofrio and Kyle Galuli. And we are here. Week 1 of the NFL season begins on Thursday night. And we got big news today in the NFL. And we'll start down in Dallas with Ezekiel Elliott. And it looks like him and the Cowboys are close to finalizing a 6-year, $90 million extension, which will end the offseason saga where Ezekiel Elliott had been holding out. Even with 2 years left on his contract, he had been holding out for a new deal. But it looks like him and the Cowboys are going to come up with a deal. He's going to be the highest paid running back in NFL history, probably making $15 million a year. The big question is what's going to happen with the other free agents. What's going to happen with Dak Prescott? What's going to happen with Amari Cooper? What's going to happen with Byron Jones? Because you saw earlier today the Cowboys signed La'el Collins too to a big contract. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Dak and Amari Cooper. But for right now, it's a lot of money for a running back. But he is a top 2 running back in the league with Saquon Barkley, and you could say Todd Gurley, top 3 with Todd Gurley. But we don't know what Todd Gurley is going to be this year. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a running back. But he's an elite player in this league, and it looks like the Cowboys had to pay him, and they did.
Yeah, they had to pay him, even though there's 2 years left on his contract. So, but he wants that security of if he gets hurt, I get my money. I have my money just in case if he does get hurt next year or two, where maybe it's significantly less, he gets that big contract that he's always wanted. And he definitely does deserve it because he's a top running back in this league. And it helps the Cowboys offense so much more now because now you can open up the play action game because we saw it during the preseason. They really could not run the football. They kind of struggled, so this is huge for the Cowboys.
So it's 6 years, 90 mils. What supposedly was it? How many are they saying guaranteed though? Because that's really what running backs care about. You know, the other rest, whatever's not guaranteed, you know, they're probably not going to really see that. That's based off of maybe incentives or stuff like that. But if you're the Cowboys, like Tony Pollard was, it would be pretty useful. Like if they were going to use him in terms of like trying to gain leverage for Zeke, because the first 3 teams they play all last year had terrible run defense. So you're thinking, let's just say, they had their whole O-line healthy, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with Travis Frederick if he's playing or not, hopefully, but they do that, O-line's even better, and then they tried out Tony Pollard, they faced 3 terrible run defenses, and he goes, let's say for 100 yards each game, you gain leverage. You gain money back. So I can say that, but again, at some point you got to pay that man because, like you said, top 2 back. If you don't have him, by any chance at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you saw the Cowboys offense a couple of years ago when he was suspended. It was just did not look good at all. So I think even though you don't ever want to pay a running back this much money, he's just so good that you just have to pay him that much money. That's the big thing. Now the issue with the Cowboys though is about paying him all this money is I think you got to make sure Dak signed and you got to make sure Amari Cooper signed. If say you end up giving Dak a huge contract and you let Amari Cooper walk, that's not good. Giving Dak a lot of money and giving Zeke a lot of money. I mean,
plus trading a first round pick.
Yeah,
for
you trade a first round
rental.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this will be a good move for the Cowboys if Amari Cooper is signed and if Dak Prescott is signed. That will determine if this is a good move for the Cowboys.
But really, what I think it's setting a not a great precedent for the Cowboys in terms of let's throw out Van Der Esch because obviously he has a 5-year deal with 5th year being an option because he was first round pick. So in 2 years, why doesn't he just do what Zeke did? Be like, give me my money.
Yeah, I think the NFL is going to need to fix that eventually. Yeah, because
you literally here's your contract. This is when you can negotiate. There's all the rules set out, but the guy's like, I'm skipping line. Give me my money. It's like, what's the point of having a contract then? Yeah,
it's something that I think you may see trending now that especially the running back position because you get beaten up so many times each week. You get how many times you carry the ball, you're going to get hit pretty much every time. So, yeah, it's something we could see trending. It's got maybe sitting out like this and wanting a contract with still 2 years left on the deal.
And isn't the CBA up? Was it after this season or
after next year? It's up.
Yeah, so it's up shortly. So maybe that's something that could be talked about, and not because that's not setting a good precedent. Yes. Because it's literally always you get this is boom, this is when you can get it's all lined up. When he skips a line, the next player would be like, "Oh, he did it. Do it for me." So then you're such in tough situation because then the guy's gonna be like, "We did for him. Why can you do for me?" But at the same point, you know, you could have a ton of other people like, you know, Cowboys still do with Zeke. Because I was like, you guys said Dak, Cooper, Byron Jones, and all that. Like, you know, what are you going to do? There's no way you're going to be able to pay everyone. You're going to be losing someone.
Exactly. So we'll go on to the Houston Texans, and they traded Jadeveon Clowney to the Seattle Seahawks for a 3rd-round pick. And I think this move does make the Seahawks a better. Obviously, this will make the Seahawks a better team. Even though Clowney hasn't had over 10 sacks in a season, he's really good against the run. And now he goes back to his position he played in college, 4-3 defensive end instead of a 3-4 outside linebacker. So he definitely could get over 10 sacks this year. And this is a contract year. And Clowney, I wouldn't be surprised if Clowney did have a monster year for the Seahawks.
Oh, we definitely can, especially if he could stay healthy. And I think it does help now he can go back to where he played in college, where he played really, really well at South Carolina.
You remember that game playing the Outback Bowl against Michigan? Oh,
yeah, that was one of the best hits I've ever seen.
That's the reason why he was the number 1 pick. That hit. That was
that was in his sophomore year, not his junior year.
They had to retire that in the ESPN top 10 because it kept winning every day.
Yeah, and I still actually even remember when he committed to South Carolina. I was actually watching that. So he's if he can play like his potential, this is a great move for the Seahawks. And they didn't have to give up much, a 3rd rounder and 2 kind of like backup players, really. So they didn't even give up much. And
Barkevius Mingo.
Yeah, like these guys really have been hurt.
They pretty much all they gave was a 3rd-round pick because the 2 players they gave up were not good players at all.
Yeah,
Jacob Martin.
This is huge.
I think he's his 2nd year. But Barkevius Mingo? Really?
And Bill O'Brien needs to go as a GM. But this is just a huge and there's really no lose-lose situation here for the Seahawks, especially if you re-sign him. It's such a huge one for Seattle.
And then if you don't re-sign him, you're getting that 3rd-round, compensatory pick. So you're literally what? So you're losing a handful of draft spots potentially for Clowney. So, I mean, it's smart for them. The Texans are just dumb. It makes no sense because by doing this, you're lessening JJ. You're listening JJ Watt because I understand
you listen Whitney Merciless too. Plays outside linebacker.
You're literally lessening everyone. It makes no sense because yes, you can, especially with Watt. You can move him, DN here, DT here, DN on the other side, but without having Jadeveon Clowney, not having some bona fide, pass rushing talent on the other side. You literally would just double JJ Watt every single time. Like whatever he is, he's here. Okay, we'll have the 2 guys on O-line block him there. Maybe chip him with someone else on the other side. You do it on an inside. You can do it. So it's like it makes no sense. I'm saying you need O-line like bad, and if they address that, thank God. Because when I originally saw that trade, I'm like, you're what? You might as well. What would you give away DeAndre Hopkins for? A 2nd at this point? The way they were looking, it's like I don't understand it personally. It really does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
And speaking of O-line, the Texans, pretty desperate, gave up 2 first-round picks to get Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. We'll first talk about Laramie Tunsil. And Laramie Tunsil's a good left tackle, and he was the best offensive lineman for the Dolphins. Now, that's not saying much. The Dolphins had one of the worst offensive lines in the league last year.
Switch cheese.
But still, he's in the middle of the pack in terms of left tackles in the NFL. If you can probably name 14 or 15 left tackles that are as good or better than Laramie Tunsil. And you gave up 2 first-round picks for this guy, showing you how desperate you are to win this year. Bill O'Brien's Bill O'Brien's job's on the line. He's desperate to win this year because if he doesn't win this year, he's probably going to be fired. I mean, his job's pretty much on the line. That's why I think made that trade to give up the 2 first-round picks and then getting Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills is a above average to above average receiver. I mean, he's a good receiver, not a great receiver. Now, I think Watson will make him better than Tannehill made him, but still, he's an average to above average receiver at best.
He's going to be Will Fuller's spot because Will Fuller's never healthy.
Yeah. You can never count on Will Fuller. No, not at all.
So so you give up Clowney, and you only get a 3rd pick. Or a 3rd rounder back. You could have maybe tried, especially because these deals happen the same day. Why don't now you give up 2 first rounders? You could have got 1 back from Seattle, maybe. It's just I don't understand. And I know they're desperate. It just makes no sense. And Bill O'Brien's not a GM. I don't know why. I guess they really want the Patriots GM that bad that they never hired anybody because Bill O'Brien's not great at that. And that definitely could be on the line, trading away all these drafts because they're the loser really in all of these trades. The Dolphins, 2 first rounders, a team that's going to rebuild. Now they have 13 draft picks. they're loving it. You know, they're fine with it. Especially they know they're going to be bad. They're probably going to get the first overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Dolphins, I mean, you have 1 million picks now. So you have what this year just alone. Tried to look up, couldn't find it, but you have, you know, this upcoming year. If you're the Dolphins, you have obviously your first round pick. But like you said, it's probably gonna be a number 1 pick. If not, it's gonna be top 3. You're gonna be able to get one of the quarterbacks. You know, 3 like Herbert, Jake Fromm, and Tua. Then you had the Texans pick, which is probably, I would say, let's say about 20 to 28 range. Roughly is going to be their pick this year. Next year, who knows? But you're going to have their pick again. So it's almost like it's almost like with what the Raiders did by trading Khalil Mack, and they got 1 million picks, but they didn't trade a Khalil Mack even remotely close to level talent. But yet the Dolphins have all of this. Now it's still gonna take a while for the Dolphins to become anything if possible. It's gonna take at least probably like 3 seasons. But you have a groundwork for a lot of talent to get, you know, get on a team, whether it's by draft or, you know, trading those, you know, a draft pick for, you know, a player at a position of need, which right now is literally everyone except the number 1 corner, because you have that. But for the, you know, for the Texans, okay, you get Kenny Stills. He could be literally Will Fuller spot, like what his spot was intended to be, but you know, he's hurt literally like all the time, which is disgusting, because at least they have someone opposite of DeAndre Hopkins. But 2 first-round picks, really? The only way I would ever trade 2 first-round picks for anyone literally is for a quarterback that would put me over the top. That's the only position I'm ever trading that, unless it's one other. Let's just, you know, say you have a team that's loaded, but you need one specific spot. Like literally, you just have one spot, and all you maybe you trade that for like a one-of-a-kind talent. You know, let's say like a Saquon or like a Odell, DeAndre Hopkins, that type of thing. But like Larry Tunsil, really, he's okay. Kenny Stills, he's okay. 2 first-round picks, like, you're beyond desperate. That's disgusting. Why? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. You traded way too much. You already mortgaged your future for an average left tackle and an average receiver. Congrats.
Exactly. We'll look at the Dolphins side of this. Yes, they're giving up Stills and Tunsil, but we all know they're pretty much tanking to get that number 1 pick, and more evidence showed where they're doing that by trading Kiko Alonso to the Saints. Yeah, Kiko Alonso's not a great linebacker either, but get some money off the book.
He wanted out too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, so trading Kiko Alonso to the Saints. We look at some other moves. We'll react to that.
They just kind of open up some cap space here to, you know, get all these draft picks to, you know, especially you get 2 at that first pick, you know, he's going to be worth a lot. Yeah, just, you know, there's definitely going to be more and more trades coming. Well, like, I would, if Rosen somehow beats out, if they end up putting Rosen as a starter in like week 5-6, watch them try to trade like Ryan Fitzpatrick to somebody if they need a quarterback. So there's definitely going to be trading more veterans.
I really hope for like Xavier Howard's like just like mental, so it doesn't go crazy, that somehow he manages to get off that team, because that guy's an amazing corner. That he's like a Jalen Ramsey like body build. Like he has height and he has strength, but he can still cover. He's not a tall corner that gets beat up by like the short fast guys. Remember when they played in Miami 2 years ago when Brandon Cooks was on the team? He destroyed Brandon Cooks. It was no contest. He won the matchup the whole game. So yeah, that guy on a team that is like, it's so decimated without talent. I mean, you have Kenyon Drake, who's okay, Xavier Howard, who's good. Oh my God, who's the D lineman from Clemson they drafted?
Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, he's good, but it's like, it's gonna be struggles though. But maybe Patriots beat him in Miami this year. Yay.
We'll look at some other moves. LaShawn McCoy is back with Andy Reid. He went to the Chiefs, 1 year, $3 million, and then the Melvin Gordon situation continues. I mean, I'm looking at teams that the Chargers have given Gordon permission to seek a trade, and you look at teams that could fit Melvin Gordon. I think the biggest one is the Green Bay Packers. He's from Wisconsin. They need a really good running back. That'd be a huge move if the Packers could trade for Melvin Gordon. The Chicago Bears would be another huge move. Yeah, they'd be less likely to do it than the Packers because they have David Montgomery. They got Tariq Cohen, and they got Mike Davis. But still, that would still improve the running game. You look at the 49ers losing Jared McKinnon. They bring in Melvin Gordon and Kyle Shanahan's offense. That would be really big. Also look at two other teams, the Raiders, because they have a rookie running back. You don't know what you're getting there. And then you also look at the Buccaneers. They have no running game at all.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where he can go. I heard he was following a bunch of NFL teams this weekend on Instagram. I'd be interested to see him. Like a Green Bay would be really, that would really help out Rodgers. And
maybe actually get Rodgers a viable running back finally.
Yeah, because Aaron Jones is okay. He's nothing special. He's going back to where he put his college ball, and you said he's from there. So I would guess that's probably his favorite team. I don't know. But I think, he get a lot of, he would love to play up in Green Bay. So that would be a move that would be very, very interesting to watch and make Green Bay very, very, that would make him a NFC favorite, definitely. So, and I think if you trade in Oakland, it would be tough because of playing the same division 1 year. But that would help out.
Asking price for Oakland would be ridiculous, though.
Yeah, that's why I think it would be tough to trade him to Oakland. But at least for the Chargers' sake, you do have Eckler and you have Jackson, and both of them weren't bad at all last year, especially if the duo. So another, it's an interesting move, and I don't know how high it's actually, or how much the Chargers can get for him because he's on his final year. So he's probably not gonna be getting what he wants, Gordon. But
definitely, but I don't like the Niners would be interesting, but you have 3 running backs though. You have what, did they cut McKinnon or something?
McKinnon got hurt. He's on IR.
Oh, he got hurt again. Jeez.
Yeah, he's on IR. He's out for the year.
But well, you have Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida. That'd be interesting. Maybe bring more because they have speed, so you'd have a power back at that point. But I'm honestly right there. Come on, microphone, stay there. Thank you. But honestly, I'm right there with you with the Packers. Imagine that team. You have Melvin Gordon,
Devontae Adams, and Aaron Rodgers. And a pretty good offensive line. And he's from Wisconsin, too.
Exactly. I mean, hopefully Jimmy Graham at least salvaged what some left of his career because that was just brutal last year. I mean, I thought he'd actually be relatively good with Aaron Rodgers, but nope. Then they have who are their two, now they're not rookies, but last year the rookie was Valdez Scantling, who was solid, and someone else that was they have raw ability, so they can have something. But honestly, I think if you're the Packers, I would go for it because I think you kind of got your defense is pretty much figured out for the most part. You got a young secondary. You got a pass rusher, hopefully, with Rashawn Gary. When was the last time this man actually had a above average running back like Ryan Grant? That
1 year with the 2014 season, Eddie Lacy was good, but after that he wasn't good at all.
And then before that it was maybe Ryan Grant when Rodgers, was just starting to be a starting quarterback. So other than that, you get this man that and his ability, to throw the ball just accurate and on the run and all that with a great play action game. In theory, if you got Melvin Gordon on the Packers, sign me up.
Absolutely. So speaking of the Packers, we're going to get to the games, and they play in the first game of the season. The 100th anniversary of the NFL starts with the Packers and the Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago. And I think this is going to be it's going to be fun to see Matt LaFleur's offense. Matt LaFleur go up against Matt Nagy. It's going to be fun to see those two offenses go up against each other. And the thing is I know Trubisky didn't play much at all in the preseason. Rodgers didn't play at all in the preseason, but I think these teams score some points. I think the Bears really get their running game going with Tariq Cohen, with Mike Davis and David Montgomery. I think the Bears get that run game going, and I think that the Packers, even though the Bears have a really good defense, I think Aaron Rodgers has a big game. I think he has a big game in Matt LaFleur's offense. I think the difference though in this game is going to be the Bears being at home and their defense making a stop at the end and the coaching. I'll take Matt Nagy over Matt LaFleur, and I'm going 31-27 Packers. The Bears are a 3-point favorite, so I got the Bears covering too. I'm going 31-27 Bears over the Packers. Kyle.
I'm going with the Packers, honestly. I think in very high of the team, because I think right now there'd be my pick for the NFC to make it to the Super Bowl. I like the team a lot because right now the secondary, you got speed for days. I mean, you literally got Adrian Amos. I mean, this team essentially swapped safeties. Packers got Amos from the Bears. Bears got Haha from the Packers. So you swapped safeties. Their secondary is very good, very young, especially Drew Alexander played insane last year. And you drafted Rashawn Gary, so you got talent, physical, raw talent on a team. See if you can mold in something. You got the two Smiths, in the offseason via free agency. So you're on linebackers. And I just think right now, honestly think Adrian Amos is not being there anymore is going to hurt because he's a lot better of a safety to me than Haha is. So I think I think it's going to be a very close game, but I see them honestly winning by about 7 points.
Yeah, I also have the Bears on Thursday night. I have them winning 24-20. It's a little bit lower scoring. I'm interested to see now. You don't really have for the Bears. You don't have that Howard Cohen duo anymore in backfield. It's kind of Cohen. I do like the addition of David Montgomery from Iowa State.
And Justin must have watched him play a lot at Iowa State.
Yeah, I liked him at Iowa State. He played well last year for him. And for Green Bay, I'm interested to see Matt LaFleur. And especially because Tennessee's offense wasn't great. They're very mediocre. So it's very interesting to see how you can take now he's got a much better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. So it's interesting to see how he can take this offense maybe to the next step. But I think the Bears will pull this one out, and I think they will because it's at home.
Alrighty, we will head out to Cleveland for the long anticipated return of OBJ with the Cleveland Browns. And I think the Browns have a lot of success in this game. I think this is a really good matchup for the Browns. Tennessee didn't stop the run that well last year. They were 18th against the run. I think Nick Chubb has a big game. I think he goes for over 100 yards. I also think Baker Mayfield, that helps Baker Mayfield coming off play action. I think he has a good game. I think OBJ has a really good game. And I think the biggest difference in this game is going to be Taylor Lewan being suspended for 4 games for the Titans, because I think Myles Garrett has a big game, and I think they get pressure on Marcus Mariota, and I think that the Browns win this game. I'm going Browns 28-17 over the Titans. I have Cleveland win this game, but I think Tennessee's gonna. It's right now. I have Cleveland a 5.5 point favorite. I think Tennessee will keep it under that. So I have Cleveland right now winning this one 25 or 24-20, and I have another 24-20 game. I think Tennessee to be able to hang in there with them. I'm interested to see. I don't know how Cleveland's in a mess yet, so that's kind of why I'm a little bit down on them. I don't know how this is all going to work out. It's really the first time we're going to see that, and that's why I think it to be a little bit closer. In Tennessee, because I am worried about their line being suspended for 4 games, because they gave up 47 sacks last year, and they don't really, besides really Corey Davis, they don't really have too many weapons on the outside.
Yeah, a lot of developmental pieces.
Yeah, so I think offensively they may struggle at times, but I think they'll keep it close.
I'm right there with you in terms of the Browns. Like on paper, you just look at pure talent on paper, this should be no contest, Browns. But I'm right there with you in Browns in terms of not sure how it's going to mesh, especially with all the egos and all that, and you're having a rookie head coach going against that. And I think Derrick Henry's going to play a big part in this, because the linebackers for the Browns are the weakness of that defense. I think it's pretty easily the weakness of that defense. But I think ultimately Cleveland's going to win by a field goal. I'll say about a 27-24 win for them.
So you both have the Titans covering, but the Browns winning.
Yep.
So we will head up to Philadelphia, and we got an NFC East matchup between the Redskins and the Eagles. And for this game, I think the Eagles are going to, on offense, even though Carson Wentz hasn't played in the preseason, I think they're going to be able to control the ground game with Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard. I think Carson Wentz has another really good game. I think the only issue for the Eagles in this game is at left tackle. Ryan Kerrigan could give. I think it's going to give Jason Peters fits, and definitely could get pressure on Carson Wentz. But on the other side of the ball for the Eagles, with Trent Williams holding out, I think that Brandon Graham or Derek Barnett and Fletcher Cox are going to get pressure on Case Keenum. I think the Redskins might have some success running the ball with Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis. but at the end of the day, it won't be enough success. And I think the Eagles win this game at home 31-20 over the Redskins.
I got the Eagles, and I have them covering. I have them winning 31-17. And I love the move. The Eagles actually, one of their moves they made this offseason was getting back to Sean Jackson, because last year they lacked in the big play threat.
He should have never left.
Yeah, he should. And last year he led the league on per yards per reception. He led the league with 18.9 a game. So I think he could really help with the deep ball threat, getting that big play threat, because they keep the running game going for the Eagles. And can Carson Wentz stay healthy? He's got the big contract now. Can he stay on the field for all 16 games? And then for Washington, it's going to be a long season, especially without Ryan Carey without Carey. That's your best lineman, one of your top players as well. So it going to be could be a very long year for the Redskins, and I think offensively they're AP may have some success, but they don't. I don't think they have much in the receiving game, and I think Philly could stack the box and shut down AP and Bryce on the ground game.
I have the Eagles winning pretty big on this. I think I had them winning by about score by about 37-20, because especially Trent Williams doesn't play. I'm literally putting Brandon Graham on a left tackle all day, because if you do that, you got to slide over help, or
and Jordan Reed may have to help in protection too, which affects him going out for passes.
Yeah, and that's good. Then if you double him, are you going to be doubling Fletcher Cox too? Because at that point, who else are you going to have one-on-one with the other guy than with Derek Barnett, or whoever you want to mix in and out? I think it's going to be a long night. I think the Eagles defense is going to score probably about one touchdown, maybe two. I could see them scoring. I think, like you said, just stack the box against the Redskins. Who's going to threaten you as a wide receiver in the Redskins? No one. No, not even close. And then if you're the Eagles, I think Carson Wentz is going to have a solid game. I think he's going to be a little rusty. Like, he's going to show a couple, he's going to have to take maybe a week or 2 weeks, to shake that up. I think their running game is going to be really, really good. I love them getting Jordan Howard. If I'm the a Bears fan, I'm mad that they got rid of him, because this man was good, perfect, literally the perfect complement running back to Tariq Cohen, and you got rid of him. Bold strategy. See if it works for you. But with the Eagles, you have him, and now you drafted Miles Sanders. You're gonna have two good running backs. I could see them rushing for probably about 150 to 200, and I think ultimately they're gonna beat the Redskins pretty bad by about 17.
We'll head down to Jacksonville, where the Kansas City Chiefs, or Nick Foles and Andy Reid reunite. The Kansas City Chiefs head down to Jacksonville to face the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think this is an interesting game. I think, yes, the Jaguars have a really good defense and a really good pass rush, but I do think Kansas City will have some success running the ball. Not have a huge running game, but the running game will be competent, and I think Mahomes makes plays against this Jaguar defense. I think he's a good enough quarterback to make plays against the Jaguar defense. I think on offense for the Jaguars, though, I think Leonard Fournette has a big game. I think he goes for over 100 yards against this Kansas City run defense. I think that opens up play action for Nick Foles. I think the Jaguars move the ball in this game, but the difference between the Chiefs and the Jags, I think the Chiefs get touchdowns. I think the Jaguars kick a lot of field goals, and I think the Chiefs win this game. They're a 4-point favorite, and a lot of people are going to be taking the Jaguars getting points at home, getting the points at home, but I'm not. I'm taking the Chiefs to win the game and to cover the spread. I'm going 31-26 Kansas City over Jacksonville.
I'm also got the Chiefs. I have them covering, though. I have them right now 34-24. I think, Jacksonville would be able to move the ball against Kansas City's defense, but I don't think they're going to be able to get enough going, and I think they're going to have trouble stopping Patrick Mahomes. He's just so good. I know Jacksonville's defense is really, really good. They only gave up 15 points a game last year, but I think they're going to have a rough time taking on Kansas City. And Jacksonville too, they had 121 penalties last year. They got, especially if they want any chance to win this game, you got to be disciplined. You can't have 100. You got to say you cannot give you can't give this team free first downs. You can't. So, but I think Kansas City's will be able to take this one.
I also have Kansas City winning. I have them winning by 7 points. I think I could see about a 24-17 victory for them. Ultimately, I think Leonard Fournette will have a big game for Jacksonville, because you got to play more ball control, especially against this Chiefs offense, and their defense really cannot stop the run at all. It's not even close. And obviously they have good pass rushers, you have Chris Jones, and you ended up getting Frank Clark in the offseason, but they lost They lost D Ford, who was a very good pass rusher. You gained Frank Clark, who's close in my eyes, but not as good. But the run defense didn't really get tremendously better. But if you're I think the Chiefs this year, they're going to be, honestly, I think they're going to be more of an explosive offense than last year, but less consistent because they got more speed with Markel Hardman from Georgia. But I think the running game is going to be a little hit and miss at times, and I think couldn't put more strain on Patrick Mahomes. Now he's going to be able to deal with it, obviously, because this man's all world talent. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a little spotty this year. But ultimately, I think the pass rush for Jacksonville: Calais Campbell, Yannick Ngakoue, Josh Allen. 3rd and long, good luck. I could see potentially a couple of that. Forcing some turnovers. I think Patrick Mahomes not going to start off with the best game in the world, but ultimately, I see a late touchdown for the Chiefs, winning by 7.
We'll head up to Minnesota for the Vikings and the Falcons, and this is I think it's going to be a really, really competitive game. I think Minnesota's going to have. I think Gary Kubiak was a really good hire on this coaching staff. I think they're going to have success running the ball. Atlanta didn't stop the run well last year. Yes, they're a little bit better now that Deion Jones is back, but they're still not a great run defense. I think with Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook, I think this team is going to have success running the ball. I think they're going to have 100 yards rushing between the two. I think Kirk Cousins. It's a 1:00 game, so he'll play well. And I think on defense for the Vikings, I think their defense is going to contain the Falcons offense. I think Matt Ryan will play a decent game, but I think the Vikings defensive line is going to get pressure on him, especially on the right side. Everson Griffin or Danielle Hunter, I think, have a big day on the right side. And I think their running game. I think Atlanta will have some success running the ball, but not as much success as Minnesota. Minnesota's a 3.5-point favorite. I don't have them covering, but I have them winning this game. I have them winning it 23-20 at home against the Falcons. Kyle.
I have the Falcons winning this one. I have them winning by 3 because I think they're going to be one of the vastly improved teams in the NFL period, and especially the NFC because, like we said a million times in the offseason, that their defense, every big name player essentially was hurt at some point, if not for most of the season last year. And I think you have, on the offense, you have Austin Hooper at tight end. He's a solid tight end. He can give you something. Obviously, we all know Julio. He needs no introduction. You got Calvin Ridley. Man's talented. You have Mohamed Sanu, perfect complement to wrap that whole, receiving core around. Then you got Devontae Freeman. The man's good. He's a little spotty with his injuries. If he could stay more healthy, that man could be one of the better backs in the NFL, period. Defense, I kind of like what they're getting. The problem is, I don't know exactly how Dalvin Cook is going to be. Like, he's looked nice so far, but at the same point, coming off of the injury, how is he gonna do from last year? Is he gonna be the back that he was his rookie year before he ultimately got hurt, where he looked pretty good? Kirk Cousins is so spotty in games. It's hard to rely on him. That defense, though, I love that defense. I love their 2 wide receivers. Their tight ends are pretty nice. I just think ultimately that firepower of that Atlanta offense and their defense coming back, healthy, hopefully, ultimately is going to give them the win. I think they're only going to win by 3, but I think they will win.
Yeah, I also have Atlanta winning this one 24-21. And Atlanta, their D was so banged up last year. They only had 7 interceptions all year. And I know they were banged up, but that's still not, I think that was worse in the league last year. And then they improved into the O-line too with drafting Chris Lidstrom and Caleb McGarry. So they improved at the O-line. Hopefully Freeman can stay healthy for him. And I think Matt Ryan plays well enough to get him the win. Then for Minnesota, they definitely defense. They're gonna be great again on defense. They have 10 starters coming back. They only gave up 15 passing touchdowns last year. But I just think, again, with what you're saying, Cooks and coming back with the injury, who knows how he's going to look, how Kirk Cousins going to look. Because technically, this could be a big game because both of these teams could be battling for a playoff spot. Really, in this game, it could be a huge tiebreaker down the stretch.
Yeah, and I could see this game possibly going in overtime. Wouldn't surprise me. And I really think this game in week 1 is going to be the best game of the first week.
I think we all can agree on that. We'll head back out east for an AFC East matchup where the Buffalo Bills visit the New York Jets, and I think this will be a competitive AFC East matchup. I think the biggest question in this game is how good will Le'Veon Bell be? Will he be the Le'Veon Bell he was in Pittsburgh? Will he be a a not so good version of Le'Veon Bell, or it could be a Le'Veon Bell that looks terrible and looks like he hasn't played in a year. I think he'll be kind of in the middle of that. I think he'll have a good game, run not a great game, but a good game running the ball and catching the ball out of the backfield. I think Darnold has a really good game because I think he played as well as any quarterback the last 4 weeks of the season. I think that continues, and I think on defense for the Jets, they'll be able to contain the Bills' running game with Devin Singletary, Frank Gore, and T.J. Yeldon. I think Josh Allen will make some plays in this game, but he'll make some positive plays. He'll make some plays to John Brown and Cole Beasley because the Jets have had issues at corner, but he'll also make some bad plays. And I think that'll be the difference in this game. I think Darnold makes more plays than Josh Allen, and I think the Jets win this game, and I get the Jets winning this game 27-20.
I got the Jets also win this game. I got them winning 28-17. I think Buffalo this year, last year they only had 13 touchdowns to 23 interceptions, or 13 pass touchdowns and 23 interceptions. So that's got to change. Allen's got to take that next step this year. Then they only averaged 16 points a game. They had 5 games where they even scored double digits, and they did improve a little bit the offensive game with adding Cole Beasley and John Brown. I know they're not great, but it does help out a little bit for Josh Allen in the passing game. For the Jets, how rusty is Le'Veon Bell going to be coming back? Hasn't played all last year. I think he's going to be a little bit rusty. But for the Jets, they have 53 3 and outs last year. That's way too many. They got to get that down. And they were minus 10 in the turnover margin. They got to cut that back this year. But I think Jets at home will get the win by 11.
Yeah, I have the Jets winning this game. I have them winning 20-17. I think it's because last year the Bills had a very, very good defense last year, and they drafted out Ed Oliver, who kind of dropped in the draft a little bit. So I think you kind of got a steal for where he was a draft projected originally before the year. So you got him. You still have Jerry Hughes. So you got some very, very good talent. So you have Tre'Davious White, who's very, very good young corner in the league. I think ultimately what's going to be the issue is that with the Jets drafting Quinnen Williams, when there's inside pressure, especially on a rookie quarterback and a guy who's kind of relies on his athletic ability like a Josh Allen, because obviously we know the dude has a cannon for an arm, probably one of the top 2 strongest arms in the game. Obviously the guy can run. He led their team in rushing last year. When there's pressure up the inside, they just panic. A lot of quarterbacks do, but especially rookies. But they panic, and I think Quinnen Williams is going to be a big time factor in this game. And I think, honestly, ultimately it's going to be the Jets defense coming up with a key turnover at the end of the game to kind of seal the game towards the end. But in terms of Le'Veon Bell, he's going to be rusty. I think he's going to, in a way like what I said about Carson Wentz, like he's going to have a nice game. But there's going to be some times where you can see the rust kind of, that's on his, style and hit, like making the, the right read and which holes open or not. And also he's got to get used to from the Steelers O-line, who's one of the better ones, period. And he used to his running style, and, you kind of get just used to how everyone does everything. Now you're with the Jets O-line, who's solid, but it definitely isn't the Steelers O-line. So that's going to be interesting to see. But ultimately, Jets winning 2017.
We head down to Carolina for the Rams and the Panthers. This is an interesting matchup because...
Phone call.
Sorry about that, guys. This is an interesting matchup because the Rams didn't play any of their starters in the preseason, and the Rams didn't play any of their stars in the preseason, and Cam Newton isn't 100% either. So this is an interesting matchup for both these teams. But I think that the Rams win this game, and here's the reason why. I think the Rams attack this Carolina secondary. I think Todd Gurley's not going to have that great of a game. I think, you could say, he's not the same as he was last year, but I think the Panthers have a really, really good run defense. But I think another issue with the Panthers is their secondary is terrible. I think Jared Goff and Sean McVay will expose this with Robert Woods, with Brandon Cooks, and with Cooper Kupp. I think they expose the Panther secondary. And also, I don't think Cam Newton, he might play, but I doubt Cam Newton's going to be 100%. And I think that the Rams are going to get pressure with Dante Fowler and obviously the best defensive player in the league, Aaron Donald. And I think Christian McCaffrey will have his I think they're going to game plan to stop Christian McCaffrey, so I don't think he'll have a great game on the ground. I think he'll have a good day catching balls out of the backfield. I don't think he'll have a great day on the ground, so I think they'll limit McCaffrey's production, and I think the Rams win this game. I'm going 24-17 Rams over the Panthers.
Yeah, I get the Rams in this one as well. I got them winning 30-24. I'm always worried with a West Coast team going out to play an East Coast team at 1 o'clock. But I think with Newton not being 100%, I think he's going to struggle. And with the Rams, this is a good team trying to bounce back from their Super Bowl loss last year. And it's going to be weird actually watching Clay Matthews in a Rams jersey. It's going to be a little weird. It's going to take some time to get used to watch him in a Rams uniform. And Eric Weddle coming over as well. So added a little bit to their defense again. And I think the Rams are going to beat Carolina, who got out such a good start last year and just collapsed into 1-7. They want to have a shot at the playoffs. They got to start fast again, but make sure they finish fast or finish strong again.
The one thing with the Panthers players and all that is that hopefully they're not thinking too much about, obviously, the hurricane, all that's going on in Florida. He'll be traveling up, possibly towards the Carolinas. Who knows at that point exactly where it's going to be? Is it going to be still down in Florida? Is it going to be, not really affecting the U.S.? Is it going to be affecting, around them? Who knows? And hopefully it doesn't. But with the Panthers, I think their pass rush right now on paper should be pretty good because you got Bruce Irvin. The man can still give you something. You got Gerald McCoy and Quan Shore, who I think it's the best DT duo in the league. And then they drafted Brian Burns. So you really have I think 3 really good pass rushers. And then you got Bruce Irvin, who can still give you something. He can be more of a situational guy, but he can still definitely give you something. Ultimately, I have the Rams winning it by 10 because, like you said, I don't think Cam Newton's not going to be healthy at all. I'm right there with you, Steve. What you said with McCaffrey running the ball, not gonna be great, but him and so those linebackers, put him on those little option routes out of the backfield. It's all day, every day. It's gonna work. Aaron Donald, he's gonna have a big game to be chasing Cam Newton all around. And I think ultimately with getting Cooper Kupp back and exposing the secondary, because this secondary, actually corner-wise, is pretty bad. You're going to have Brandon Cooks. You're going to have Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp coming back and maybe, see what their tight ends give you because the tight ends for Rams are solid. But ultimately, I think the downfall of this Panthers team this week is going to be that secondary, especially corner-wise. Ultimately, I have the Rams winning. I'll say that we win by 11. I'll say 31-20 victory.
The Ravens visit Miami to face the Dolphins, and I think this game is going to be. The Ravens are a 6.5-point favorite. I think they cover a little bit closer than people think because the Ravens did lose 4 starters last year. I think teams are going to figure out how to play Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson has a lot of rushing yards. I don't think he has a great day throwing the ball. I think the Ravens they control the game. They kick a lot of field goals, but I think the Dolphins they do. Fitzpatrick gets them a little bit, but I think that ultimately the Ravens win this game, and I think they win it 20-13 over the Dolphins.
I actually have the same score. I do 20-13 Ravens. I think both teams are going to have struggle offensively. I think it's interesting year 2 now because now with the RPO offense, Baltimore is going to be running because now everyone's kind of seen it. You've seen it on film. So it's going to be interesting how that works. Ravens lost a couple big keys on that defense from last year. They only gave up 17 points a game. The offense is going to struggle for Miami, so it's a good first half for Baltimore. But I think Baltimore takes it 20-13 on the road.
I have them winning 27-13 because I think at some point Earl Thomas is getting a pick 6 somewhere in this, just because that man is such a great free safety. He is such a good ball hawk playing center field, and I think ultimately that's going to be kind of put something that's going to give them momentum, propel them in the game to win. People have seen, the RPO for a season, so we're going to see, because it's kind of like, how the Wildcat, remember, Dolphins brought that out. Even during the year, it was kind of slowed down at some point, especially coming to that playoff game when they faced the Ravens. But the next season, it was pretty much non-existent, then it was kind of shut out, relatively, quick. But with the Ravens, you have the RPOs, you upgraded at running back, you got Mark Ingram. I think you upgraded at wide receiver. You drafted, Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown from Oklahoma. That man is fast, very, very fast. Plus, they also drafted that other receiver. Was it Miles Boykin? I want to say
Miles Boykin, yeah.
They drafted him, so he has surprisingly good speed for someone that's about 6'4", 6'5", and jumping abilities through the roof. So I think you got Lamar Jackson some weapons. I think it's going to take some time with the 2, rookie wide receivers and second-year quarterback building that, cohesion, know how they want stuff to be done. But ultimately, I had the Ravens win by 14 points via 27-13 win.
We'll go to the 4:00 games, and the Giants visit the Cowboys down in Dallas, and it looks like Ezekiel Elliott is going to play this game. And if he does play this game, the Cowboys should win this game. I think the Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott has a big even though he missed all the preseason, I think he has a big day on the ground. I think Dak Prescott that has a big day throwing the football. I don't think they score a ton of points because the Cowboys play the way the Cowboys play. They don't play. They run. They control the clock. They run the ball. And I think this is going to be a game this is a really good matchup for the Cowboys. They'll have success running the ball, and I think they contain Saquon Barkley. Last year when they played, I know it was Saquon Barkley's second game of his career, but they held him to 28 yards rushing. I think Saquon Barkley will be contained. He'll definitely be held under 100 yards because the two linebackers the Cowboys have are two of the best in football with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch. And I think the Cowboys control the clock with Ezekiel Elliott. And I think they win this game 27-17. They're a 7-point favorite. They cover. They win 27-17.
Yeah, originally when I was doing this, I was expecting Ezekiel not to play, and I was going to have the Giants, I think, cover. But now it sounds like Elliott will be back. I think the Cowboys are going to win this one 24-13. And I was kind of looking up the stats of Barkley last year, and I just wanted to. So Barkley last year, of how many times he got hit. So he carried the ball 261 times. He had 91 catches. So you total that all together, he touched the ball 352 times last year, which equals to 22 hits a game. So now, of course, maybe not all of them. He may have gone out of bounds, all that, But I just felt like that's a crazy stat, and how without wide receiver right now for the Giants is a little banged up. Golden Tate suspended. So Barkley to be touching the ball a lot, and the wear and tear on Barkley may take effect. He's a big and strong guy, but it may take effect. And if they, and especially if the Cowboys can handle him like he did last year, Giants are really going to struggle in this game. So I have the Cowboys at home.
I have the Cowboys winning by 10, but I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. I have the Cowboys winning 20-10. Because I think, like we guys said, especially just when you said with the receivers for the Giants, they're just banged up. Golden Tate suspended for, I believe it's 4 games. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you don't have Odell anymore. He's in Cleveland. I just think, how are you going to move this ball? Really? I mean, you have Evan Ingram, a good tight end that, has some very good speed. But you can put Jalen Smith or Van Der Esch on him, either one, really. I mean, if you wanted to, since the Giants really don't have any weapons, put Byron Jones on him and probably would work without relatively, no issues. And then you have obviously the 2 young linebackers for the Cowboys that are probably gonna be able to contain Saquon. He's gonna get 1 million touches. I see something probably about 25 touches roughly for maybe a 70 total yards, but it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty ugly. It's not going to be nice for a nice day for the Giants. They're going to really show that this is going to be a long season. And I think ultimately the Cowboys, if Zeke plays, I think it's going to show again a slight better rest. Because yes, supposedly he was working out in Cabo, wherever he was. It's not gameplay. You're not facing live defenses, so it's going to take a week or two. But ultimately, I have Cowboys winning 20-10.
Head down to Tampa for a NFC matchup between the Bucs and the Niners, and I think the Niners have success running the ball in this Bucs defense. And I think with Nick Bosa out, Nick Bosa questionable that he might not play. I think Winston has a lot of passing yards, but at the end of the day, I think the Niners control this game. They control the clock, and they win this game 30-24.
Yeah, I got the Niners in this one, 34-31. I wonder if there's any rush from Garoppolo coming back from injury last year. And for the Niners, the secondary was such a huge problem. They gave up 35 passing touchdowns last year. They only had 2 interceptions. And
only 2?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Only 2 interceptions. And the opponent's QBR rating was a 105.4. God. So that is really, really high. They got it. And so Winston could have maybe a huge day. We'll see. But if Winston control the ball, the Bucs have a good shot at winning this one. But I think the Niners pull it out 34-31.
Yeah, I think the Niners are going to have I think they're going to win by about, I'd say by about 14, because Garoppolo, we're going to see how he's coming back from his injury. So we got Matt Breida at running back. You got Tevin Coleman. Obviously, we're going to see George Kittle this year with hopefully an actual NFL quarterback with Jimmy Garoppolo. That could be a very nice matchup, coming off of the play action, stuff with, Breida and Coleman. Could be something very nice. They drafted Deebo Samuel So you got to, hopefully a good, young, promising wide receiver. They had Pettis from last year, who showed some flashes. Marquise Goodwin, I think, finally showed that. Because I remember when he was originally drafted, he seemed like he was a guy, in a way, I would say like a John Ross, that he was just a speed guy that didn't really have much ability. But I think he's finally refined his route running and all that. So I kind of like the weapons. I think with the pass rush ultimately, because the pass rush is just insanely good on paper. I think ultimately it's going to contribute. It's not just going to be good on paper; it's going to be good on the field. Ultimately, I have them winning by 14 points. I'd say 30-17.
Lions and Cardinals in Arizona. I got the Lions winning this one 24-14. I just think the Lions improved on defense, and I think that's going to be too much for Kyler Murray.
I'm gonna take Arizona and Kyler's debut. A little nervous about this one. He's gonna be two of the worst teams in the NFC. I'm gonna take Arizona this one 21-17. I think it's gonna be low scoring. For Detroit, they gotta run the ball a little bit. They gotta run the ball better this year. They had 900, Seattle ran for like 900 more yards than they did last year. And then for Arizona, they had 46 penalties in 4 preseason games. And they gave up 9 sacks in 4 games. I worry about the protection of Kyler Murray, but Detroit didn't have a great pass rush at all last year. They do bring in Trey Flowers, which will help that. But I think Arizona at home is going to be able to pull this one out.
I have the Lions winning. I think it's actually going to be relatively high scoring. I say 30-27. I think it's because the Cardinals offense, I think they're finally going to kind of unveil, behind the curtain, actually show their offense, and that kind of vanilla offense we saw in the preseason. I think ultimately what's going to hurt them is that Patrick Peterson not being there because of his suspension. Ultimately, what's going to do in them. I have the Lions winning by 3 points.
Chargers and Colts. Brissett plays. Rivers is in for the Chargers. Melvin Gordon not there, but I still think the Chargers win this game 28-20.
Yeah, I got the Chargers winning this one 27-20. Let's see how Jacoby Brissett does now. Paris Campbell, Devin Funchess comes in to help out. We'll see how much of an impact they have.
I think ultimately I have the Chargers win by 10 points. I think their pass rush against Jacoby Brissett, I think Brissett's going to play solid, but facing this level of pass rush, ultimately, I think it's gonna do them for this game. I have the Chargers win by 10.
Bengals and Seahawks. I think with those Seahawks getting clowny, Bengals not having AJ Green, I got the Seahawks winning 34-17.
Yeah, I got Seattle win this one 35-10. I think Cincinnati's going to have trouble moving the ball without AJ Green. Interested to see Clowney in this defense. I think Seattle's going to have a huge day.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you guys. I have Seattle winning big. I'm going to go with Steve with the same score, 34-17. I mean, the Bengals, they're just pretty much decimated. Obviously, AJ Green's out. John Ross, you never know. He's always injured. Joe Mixon's going to be nice, but ultimately, other than that, they don't really have any weapons. Eifert still hurt, so ultimately, I have them winning 34-17.
The game Kyle's been waiting for all year. The Steelers and the Pats, Sunday Night Football. And I think the Patriots are a 6-point favorite, but I think the Steelers cover. I think the Steelers are able to contain the Patriots running game. I think Devin Bush potentially could be the defensive rookie of the year. I think they might be able to move the ball a little bit on this Pats defense with Juju and Big Ben and James Conner for the Patriots, but we all know that Brady never loses the Steelers in Foxborough, and I don't think it's going to be different Sunday night. Even though I think the Steelers cover, I got the Patriots winning the game 24-20.
I actually have the same score, 24-20 Pats. I think the Steelers will cover. I think it'd be a really, really good game. Interested to see now Juju, now it's the permanent number 1 for the Steelers offense. Interested to see how they do now without AB, but should be a good one.
I have them winning. I had the Patriots winning 30-21. I think it's just because the Steelers, they have obviously still have weapons. You have Connor, you have Juju. Problem is you don't have AP anymore. Yes, was he just an absolute problem in locker room? Yes. Was Le'Veon Bell's issue last year an absolute problem? 100%. And ultimately, what's going to be the issue is that the Patriots have right now too many weapons. Their run game's good. I do believe Devin Bush is going to be. He's going to show flashes because I believe he's going to be defensive rookie of the year. I would definitely agree with you on that. I just don't think right now he's got to learn all this, the ins and outs of the NFL. It's going to take him some time. The Steelers, they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit because the Patriots defense at the end of the year ultimately ends up being pretty high up in the rankings for, yardage and all. But in the year, it's a little bit struggle to kind of figuring out who's going where and all that. So ultimately, Patriots by 9, 30-21.
We have the Monday night games with the Saints and the Texans, and I think the Texans' offensive line, even though they got Tunzel, is still going to have a hard time with the New Orleans pass rush. And I think the Saints are still going to move the ball in Houston's defense without Clowney. I'm going 31-21 Saints.
I got the Saints winning this one 34-24. Houston gave up 62 sacks last year, the most in an NFL season since 2006. They got Tunsil, but I think they're going to struggle protecting Deshaun Watson and Breeze in the dome. You can never really bet against Breeze in the dome. I think he'll have a huge...
Unless you have the refs on your side. NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
But I have the Saints winning by 17. I think the score is going to look a lot worse than the game is. I think it's going to be a pretty close one-score game for most of it. But I think ultimately, at the end of the game, Cameron Jordan against that O-line, it's going to be way too much. I think... Marshawn Lattimore is going to do enough against DeAndre Hopkins. And ultimately, at the end of the game, it's going to get a little bit ugly for the Texans. But I have I'd say about a 37-20 victory for the Saints.
Last game of the week, the Broncos head to Oakland to visit the Raiders. And I think in this game that the Broncos are going to get their run game going with Phillip Lindsay. And they're going to get pressure on Derek Carr. Even though I think the Raiders have success running the ball with Josh Jacobs, I got the Broncos winning a close game 27-24 in Oakland.
I got the Raiders pulling this one out at home, 21-17.
Of course you do.
Yeah, I think Oakland at home every game this year. This being it at Oakland, especially Derek Carr being such a huge, growing up as a Raider fan.
The atmosphere is gonna be nice.
Yeah, so I think the Raiders would just be a tough out against anybody at home, and I think they pull this one out at home, 21-17. They got to do a lot better job protecting Carr. They gave 56 sacks last year. Then they only had 13. They got to get pressure on the quarterback this year. Maybe they have success doing that Monday night against Denver, but I think they'll pull it out at home.
I think this might have been one of the more tough games because obviously on paper the Raiders have talent on offense now, especially with AB, and I'm getting who's the guy from the Chargers they got? I can't remember his name. The wide receiver.
Mike Williams.
No, the other. Anyway,
Tyrell Williams. Yeah, Tyrell Williams.
Brain loss right there. But he's going to provide a lot of good deep throw, which AB, then can do everything, once, because obviously he's super talented. I think ultimately, the pass rush with Denver, with Bradley Chubb and Von Miller is ultimately going to hurt things. I think they're going to produce a key turnover. I think the Broncos, I would say they win probably about roughly a 27-21 game.
Alrighty, so we'll wrap up the show talking a little bit of college football. We'll get to the big games right off the bat, and we'll get to Texas A&M going to Clemson. And I think yes, what's his name? Kellen Mond. He's a good quarterback. A&M almost beat them last year, but this is a different year. It's in Clemson this year. I think Clemson wins this game. I think they win it by 3 scores. I'm going to say Clemson 38-17 over Texas A&M. I like
Jimbo Fisher. They played. They had them, they played very, very well against them last year at home. I think Texas A&M is going to keep it closer than the experts think. I think it's going to be 34-21. Trevor Lawrence did not look very good last week against Georgia Tech. 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Was not great. If Texas A&M could slow down Travis Etienne, and if they could protect Mon, who got sacked 4 times last year, and Clemson just had a jail rush against them every time, they could definitely keep this game close, but I think Clemson in that valley is going to be too much to handle.
I have them winning by about 21 points. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to bounce back because I think maybe this is only my theory. I don't know for sure, but I think my theory is that maybe they were bound, like they were too much. They were feeling themselves too much because they were just had way too much confidence, and they were kind of figured, we're going to roll over this team. And Trevor Lawrence, ultimately, he did have rushing touchdowns, ultimately 2 touchdowns total and 2 interceptions thrown, but he was 13 of 23, which is not great. 168 is not great. Etienne had 205 for 3 touchdowns in 1 game off of only 12 carries, which is insane. But ultimately, their offense is going to get back on favor, and maybe Ross, is going to actually show up this game because last week really wasn't there. So ultimately, I'd say Clemson by about 3 scores.
The biggest game of the weekend, and that's LSU heading to Texas to face the Longhorns. And I think in this game, LSU is going to wish they hired Tom Herman 3 years ago. I think Texas wins this game. They pull the upset, and they win it. I'd say by 3. I'd say Texas wins by 3, and LSU is going to wish they hired Tom Herman as their coach 3 years ago.
Yeah, I can't believe Texas is a dog. Both these teams looked very, very good last week. boy, granted, LSU played Georgia Southern. Texas played Louisiana Tech with Skip Holtz and Bob Diaco as the new D coordinator at Louisiana Tech. So, and Herman's great as an underdog as well. He's like 11-3 or something like that. So I think Texas at home, and this is a huge game. Now, granted, it could maybe, I don't think it will, but both these teams could be on a path of being 5 or 6, maybe going down to the College football playoffs or even a New Year's Six Bowl. Both these teams could very well be on that bubble going into that day to selection day. This should be a huge, great atmosphere in Texas. I think Ellinger pulls it out over Joe Burrow and Tigers. I'm going 31-27 Longhorns.
I have Texas winning this by 3 points. I would say it's because Burrow has. Burrow actually had a fantastic game. I mean, granted, the competition he was facing, but it was 23-27 through 278, 5 touchdowns. But they finally had a good performance by an LSU quarterback. I mean, it felt like it took years. That one, Ellinger, like last season, it was a little bit spotty with his passing. Obviously, he can move. We all know that's no surprise. His passing, and his mechanics and all that were a little bit hit and miss. The first game of the year, it was looking pretty nice. I mean, you got 4 touchdowns, no picks. 276, 28 for 38. I'm liking that. I think ultimately it's gonna be a big game, and this could possibly propel Texas towards the playoffs. And I think again they'll probably be in like the third or fourth seed, if they did make it in. But ultimately, I think they're gonna win. I'd say by about 3 points.
That's going to wrap it up this week for Sports Talk with RKJ. For my co-hosts Justin D'Onofrio and Kyle Galuli, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking week 2 of the NFL season and week 3 of the college football season. Have a great weekend, everybody.